Okay, we're going to talk about the movement of water and solutes in plants. And I'm standing back here so you can take notes. All right, so first of all, most of the water movement, or the movement of water and solutes is through the xylem and phloem, or the vascular system. And the xylem has mostly moving water, that is, water from the roots to the shoot, and generally speaking, the leaves. And the phloem is the movement of photosynthates, which are usually in the form of sucrose, but it could be other sugars, from the leaves or other photosynthetic parts to the roots, or other parts of the plant that are actually needing the sugars for something like growth, for example, or making fruits or seeds or that kind of thing. 99% of the water taken up by the roots is lost to the air via the transpiration. Transpiration is the process that we're about to talk about. That's mainly the movement of water within the xylem, and the loss is mainly from the leaves via the stomata. And the balance, but the leaf has a problem where it's balancing water loss via this transpiration process and the photosynthetic process where it has to get carbon dioxide through the stomata. So if the stomata are open, there will be some water loss, and the plant has to deal with that water loss. All right? So let's talk about the process of transpiration. Transpiration, so this is a picture of a plant, and the kind of get back here so you can write this all down first before we go on. Okay, so transpiration, like I was saying, is the movement of water through the plant. It starts off in the leaf. So in the leaf, this is a drawing, although kind of small, of the leaf and the palisade parenchyma, a vein here, the spongy parenchyma here. These are stomata. All right, so what's going to happen is that the water is going to leave the leaf via diffusion, basically, because the air always, even if it's raining outside, is only about 30% water because it has other gases in it. And water we're talking about in the air is in the form of water vapor. So the water vapor from the internal leaf space is going to leave via diffusion. There is always a lot more water within that leaf space because of the fact that water is moving through the xylem. And so inside the leaf, then there's more water, let's say 80% water or 90% water in that leaf space, and water vapor, and that means 30% water outside, and so the water will have a diffusion gradient. So as the water moves out of there, though, that's going to cause less water in that leaf space, which will also cause the water in the vessels to change states of matter and evaporate into that leaf space, or evaporate directly out. So either way, some evaporation occurs from the xylem vessel and or the leaf space to the outside environment. So a lot of times this is called evapotranspiration because evaporation is involved in the process. So as that water leaves that vessel, what's going to happen next is cohesion. So cohesion is the water molecules sticking to each other, and as one water molecule leaves, another one will be pulled up behind it, and that's going to pull one behind it up the stem all the way down to the roots. Okay, so this is cohesion. It's going to pull the water up the xylem vessel, and it does it basically like sucking it. So as the water moves off, it's going to pull that water up, and this creates a tension here and a suction basically here. So this is kind of like sucking on a straw. So when you suck on a straw, you create a void where you're sucking, that's the suck, and then that void is going to pull the water up the straw via a cohesion process, right? Now down in the root, because this suction action is actually occurring, So in the root, let's say this is the vascular vessel here, and this is the root tip. In the soil, there will be some water. It doesn't even have to be a lot of water, because what's created here is basically a vacuum with that suction process. So as the water is being sucked up, the water from the soil will move in, and because there's a diffusion gradient, and this of course is called osmosis, because water is moving from a high concentration to a low concentration. So it's a diffusion process, but specifically we're talking about water. Now, other things that are dissolved in that water will also move with, for example, a lot of the nutrients are in ionic form that are dissolved in that water continuum, and they will move into the root and into the vascular system and up with the xylem water. So that's the basic process. One other factor is that at nighttime when the stomata close, what keeps the water from just dropping off, like if you started a siphon and you had that water being sucked through and so forth, if you stop the suction, what would happen generally is the water would just like drop back down. So what keeps that from happening is capillary action. That is specifically the adhesion of the water to the xylem vessels. The cohesion will keep that column intact, and the adhesion that is adhering to the xylem vessels will keep it from falling back down.